Hey everyone, welcome to the One Code Camp channel. So in this video, we are going to dive into the world of React. So whether you are a beginner, taking your first steps into the world of React, or you are a seasoned pro who is looking to level up their skills, don't worry because you are in the right video. So we will be covering from the basics to some of its advanced concepts into creating our very first portfolio using ReactJS. So buckle up and let's get started. Alright, so let's get started with the ReactJS journey. In this video, we'll cover the key features of React, breaking down concepts for beginners and providing insights for those looking to deepen their understanding. We'll explore the core of React, understanding its features, understand its component-based architecture, advantages and disadvantages, and then learn about JSX, state, and props, and then we can move on to the practical side of things. Alright folks, so let's kick things off with a fundamental question: what is ReactJS? So ReactJS, or simply React, is a powerful JavaScript library for building user interfaces. It is maintained by Facebook and a vibrant community of developers. So imagine building websites like Lego sets. That's ReactJS in a nutshell. It's a special library for creating user interfaces or UIs that lets you break down your website into reusable, independent components like Lego pieces. So each component can control its own behavior and appearance, acting like a Lego brick, containing its own code and design. So you snap these components together to build complex and dynamic web interfaces, just like assembling a Lego creation, making it easier to build and manage your website. So when we say components, think of them as independent building blocks, each responsible for a specific part of the website, like a button, a menu, or even the whole page. And when we say dynamic, it updates specific components without refreshing the entire page, making your website feel smooth and responsive. So, in short, React is a framework that employs Webpack to automatically compile React, JSX, and ES6 code while handling CSS file prefixes. And when we say framework, this is a set of resources and tools for software developers to build and manage web applications, web services, and websites, as well as to develop application programming interfaces or APIs. So basically, a framework is a resource that a developer can utilize that contains pre-built tools and resources or components, which, if made manually, will take a bit of time to accomplish, thus speeding up the developmental process. So again, React is a framework. It is a JavaScript-based UI development library. And although React is a library rather than a language, it is mostly widely used in web development. So the library first appeared in May 2013 and is now one of the most commonly used front-end libraries for web development. So when compared to other technologies on the market, React is relatively new. It's a new technology. So Jordan Walk, a software engineer at Facebook, founded the library at 2011. So the likes of XHP, which is a straightforward HTML component of a framework for PHP, have an influence on React. So React's newsfeed was its debut application in 2011. And then later on, Instagram picks it up and incorporates it into their platform, meaning that the social media platform such as Instagram and Facebook have React incorporated in their code, and that means that React is primarily utilized for web application development. So you might also be wondering, why are we using React? So React's popularity today has eclipsed that of all other front-end development frameworks. And here are some of the reasons why. The first one is the ease of creation of dynamic applications. So React makes it easier to create dynamic web applications because it requires less coding and offers more functionality, as opposed to JavaScript, where coding often gets complex very quickly. Another one is the improved performance. React uses virtual DOM, thereby creating web applications faster. So virtual DOM compares the component's previous states and updates only the items in the real DOM that were changed, instead of updating all of the components again, as conventional web applications do. Next is the reusability of the components. So components, again, are building blocks of any React applications, and a single app usually consists of multiple components. These components have their logic and controls, and they can be reused throughout the application, which in turn dramatically reduces the application's development time. And also, React follows a unidirectional data flow. This means that when designing a React app, developers often nest child components within parent components. And since the data flows in a single direction, it becomes easier to debug errors and know where a problem occurs in an application at the moment. And also, it has a small learning curve. So React is easy to learn as it mostly combines basic HTML and JavaScript concepts with some beneficial additions. But still, as is the case with other tools and frameworks, you have to spend some time to get a proper understanding of React's library. However, if one already has prior knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, learning React will be a smoother process for them. And next is its usability with web and mobile applications. So it can be used for the development of both web and mobile apps. We already know that React is used for the development of web applications, but that's not all it can do. There is a framework called React Native, which is derived from React itself, that is hugely popular and is used for creating beautiful mobile applications. So in reality, React can be used for making both web and mobile applications. Okay, so these reasons that are mentioned more than justify the popularity of React library and why it has been prevalent within a large number of organizations and businesses. And with that being said, let us now move on and familiarize ourselves with the features of ReactJS. Okay, so like all programming languages or frameworks, React also has some impeccable features that make it the most widely utilized library. So here is the list of those noteworthy features. The first one is the JSX or the JavaScript XML. So this is a syntax extension for JavaScript recommended by React. It provides a more readable and concise syntax for creating React elements. It looks similar to HTML, making it easier to understand and write user interface components. And this is a way to write HTML-like code directly within a JavaScript, blending the two together. So here in this example, this is how you write a React code snippet without the use of JSX and with the use of JSX. So as you've noticed, the H1 tags look like HTML tags, but they are actually JSX syntax. So React uses JSX to define how the user interface should look. So just think of JSX as a shortcut for creating elements that will make up your web page. It makes the code more readable and visually organizes the structure of your user interface. And the next is the components. So since React is a component-based architecture, React separates the user interface into numerous components, making debugging more accessible, and each component has its own set of properties and functions. So React components are, again, the building blocks of a user interface. They can be either functional, where you are using a function, or class-based, where you are using a class. So it helps in creating a modular and reusable pieces of code. So they're like custom HTML elements that you can create. So here in this example, the greeting is a component that takes a name, prop or property, and then displays a personalized greeting. So since components promote reusability, you can use greeting with different names to display different greetings. Okay, so imagine components as Lego bricks. You can create different types of bricks, let's say buttons, text boxes, and many more, and then snap them together to build your website. So this makes your code organized and easier to manage. And next is the props. So as mentioned, the props, short for properties, allows the user to pass arguments or data to components. So they pass data from parent to child components to customize their behavior. So this props helps make the components be more dynamic. So here, in this example, the app is the parent component, and it passes the name prop or the name property to the child component. So the child component receives the prop and then uses it to customize its behavior. So props are like instructions you give to child component. You can tell a button what text to display or an image which picture to show. So this helps you create flexible and reusable components. And then lastly is a state. So the state manages dynamic data within a component to update parts of the UI without reloading. So a state can be changed as a result of a user's action or changes in the network. So the React re-renders the component to the browser whenever the state of an object changes. So basically, it allows a component to manage its dynamic data. So here in this example, the counter is a class component with a state that includes a count property. So the component renders the current count and a button. When the button is clicked, it updates the state, causing a re-render and updating the UI without reloading the page. So the state is like a component's memory. It remembers information that can change, like let's say the score in a game or items in a shopping cart. So when the state changes, the component automatically updates itself to reflect the new information. Okay, and then before delving any deeper, we must also first ask what are the advantages that React offers compared to other libraries as well as its disadvantages. Well, for starters, let's look into its advantages first. First one is it constructs a tailored virtual DOM. So React's ability to create a specialized virtual DOM allows for efficient updates to the actual DOM, resulting in optimized rendering and improved performance. And the next is it facilitates the creation of stunning user interfaces. So React's declarative syntax and component-based architecture empowers developers to design visually appealing and interactive user interfaces with ease. And the third one is its readability in larger applications. So since React's component-based architecture combined with proper data management, it contributes to code readability, making it simpler to organize and maintain larger applications. And the next is it seamlessly integrates with diverse architectures. So React's flexibility allows it to integrate with various architectures and libraries, providing developers with the freedom to choose and adapt to different technological stacks. And then also the way it simplifies the entire scripting environment process. So its flexibility and straightforward syntax and modular structure streamline the development process, reducing complexities associated with scripting and enhancing overall code maintainability. And of course, its advanced maintenance and output boost. So React's component reusability and unidirectional data flow contribute to easier maintenance, while its efficient rendering mechanisms enhance application performance, resulting in increased productivity. Then also React ensures faster rendering. So React's virtual DOM and optimized rendering mechanisms guarantee faster updates to the user interface, providing users with a smooth and responsive experience. And then its mobile application development script, which, the React Native, which is a framework built on React, allows developers to use their React skills to build cross-platform mobile applications, fostering code reuse and efficiency across web and mobile development. And then lastly, it is supported by a large community. So the extensive and active community around React provides developers with resources, knowledge sharing, and assistance, creating a supportive ecosystem that contributes to the continued growth and improvement of ReactJS. And yeah, like other programming languages, of course, it has its advantages, and disadvantages is what makes it desirable for programmers, developers, and corporations. Nonetheless, if something has its advantages, it would also have its caveats or limitations. So the first disadvantage of React is that it only addresses the app's angle and distance. So as a result, additional techniques must be selected if you want a full collection of development tools. Another one is most of the code is written in JSX. So it employs inline scripting and JSX. It can be quite confusing as most other frameworks prefer keeping HTML separate from the JavaScript code, and some programmers might find it uncomfortable. So excessive use of JSX can make the code less readable and difficult to maintain for non-React developers. Although this does not mean that it can be learned, right? So yeah. Another one is the steeper learning curve for advanced features. So while the basics are beginner-friendly, mastering advanced concepts like Redux and custom hooks can be more challenging. So React has a learning curve, especially for beginners who might not be familiar with concepts like JSX, components, and state management. Another one is its potentially large bundle size. Complex React applications can lead to larger bundle sizes, impacting initial loading times. And another potential of this is the over-engineering. The flexibility of React can sometimes lead to over-engineering, where developers create complex structures that might not be necessary. So it's important to strike a balance between simplicity and flexibility. And then lastly is its fast-paced development. React and its ecosystem evolve rapidly, which can sometimes lead to issues for projects that aren't frequently updated or maintained. So overall, ReactJS is a powerful and versatile JavaScript library that offers significant advantages for building modern web applications. However, it's important to be aware of its potential downsides and choose the right tools and practices to maximize its benefits and avoid its pitfalls. Okay, now that we have a solid understanding of what ReactJS has to offer, let's dive into the practical side of things, which is getting React installed and set up on your machine. Okay, so before we can create a React app, we would need to make sure that we have Node.js installed first. So Node.js is a JavaScript runtime that allows you to run JavaScript on your computer, and NPM, or the Node Package Manager, is a package manager for Node.js that helps you install and manage libraries and tools. So to download, visit this site, nodejs.org, and then download the installer for the operating system that you're currently using. So since I already have mine, I will not download it. But after the installation is complete, you can verify the Node.js and NPM if they are properly installed by opening the terminal if you're using Mac or Linux, or the command prompt, or the git bash if you are using Windows. So in my case, since I'm using Windows, I will put up my git bash. Okay, so let's minimize this one. And then let's check if the Node.js and the NPM is properly installed. Just type in here node-v for the Node.js and then npm-v for the version for the NPM. So these commands should display the version numbers for Node.js and NPM respectively. So if they displayed it, it just means that you've properly installed the Node.js together with the Node Package Manager. Okay, and then after ensuring that they are properly installed, the next thing that we would do is we would choose our desired text editor for writing the code. So this is a matter of personal preference. You can use any IDE you want, but for this video, I will be using Visual Studio Code. If you also want to download the Visual Studio Code, you can download it here at code.visualstudio.com. Okay, now that we've already chosen our desired IDE, we will have to create our project folder. So let's create a new folder. Let's name this demo app. Okay, so mine is saved inside or in my desktop folder. So if you want to save this outside desktop, it's totally up to you. Okay, and then after that is we will open now our Visual Studio Code. There you go. And then after opening our Visual Studio Code, we will now have to go to our project directory. So let's open folder and then navigate to your project directory, or the folder that we just created a while ago. Okay, so now I am here in the demo app. Now let's open our terminal or command prompt. So Visual Studio has its built-in terminal. We can make use of this one. And then in here, we will just type in npx create -react-app space my-first-app and then enter. Okay, so Facebook provides a tool called Create React App, which is this one, to set up a new React project quickly. So it comes with a predefined folder structure and configuration. So this command basically sets up a basic React project structure for you. So it creates a new folder with your project name and then installs all the necessary files inside it. So let's just wait for a while for it to finish creating our first React application. So by the way, this is my first app. This is our project name. So you can change this with your desired project name if you like. So I'm gonna pause this for a bit and we'll get back after it's finished downloading, okay? Okay, now it's all done. And since creating React app manually is complicated and it's more time consuming, this create React app command makes it much easier by automating all the configuration and package installation. Okay, now it's all done installing or creating our first project. Let's navigate here at the left side panel of our Visual Studio Code and navigate our first project. So the first folder that you can see in here is the Node modules folder. So this contains all the installed packages like the React itself and everything that your package needs. Oops. So there you go, all of those packages. So you usually won't need to touch this folder directly. This just stores the libraries and dependencies that are needed for your project. You also don't need to worry about the contents since npm handles this for you. And then next is the public folder. So this is where the public files can be found. So this holds static files like your index.html, your favicon, and the images. So it contains the static files that won't be processed by React. And then as mentioned, you can see in here the index.html. So this is the main HTML file that serves as the entry point for your React application. So the React injects the necessary scripts into this file during the build process. Okay? And then after the public file or the public folder, we now have the SRC or the source folder. So this is where you'll write your React code. This contains your application source code. So in here, you could see the main application files, the components, the styles, and all of the assets. It goes all in here. And in here, you can also see the index.js. So this is the main JavaScript file where React is initialized and the root component is rendered. You could also see here the app.js and then the app.css. So these are default files for the main application component and its styles. You can modify or create additional components also here if you need one. So this is considered as the starting point of your React app, the index.js. The app.js is the main component for your app. This is where you'll start building your user interface. And then we could also create a folder inside our source folder. Let's name this components. So this is a folder to store our reusable user interface components, like for example, the knob, the buttons, the headers, and other components that we can make later on. And then we could also add another folder inside our source folder, which could be the styles. So the styles folder, this is will be your folder for your CSS files to style your application. Okay? And then you could also see in here the package lock.json and then the package.json. So these are configuration files that will manage your project dependencies and settings. So the npm uses these files to install the correct packages for your project. Okay, and then now that we've explored our folder structure, we can now try to run the server. So to start the development server, we would just go over here in our terminal and then go to our project directory, and then we will go inside our React project that we just created a while ago. So we will type in here cd for change directory, my first app. Okay, now that we're inside our my first app folder, we will type in here npm start to start the development server. So the npm start is the command that we will type if we want to run our project to our browser. So after running the npm start, your React application will be accessible usually at localhost 3000 in your web browser. So the changes that you will make here in your React application will be automatically reflected in your browser as you save your files. So let's check our browser. And there you go. So as you can see, this is the output of the React application that we just created a while ago. So this is a default output that you could see every time it's you create a new React project. Okay, so there you go. Congratulations, you've created and set up your first ReactJS project. So please feel free to explore and modify the files in the SRC folder or the source folder to see the changes in your application real time. So for our next video, we will be editing the code and will make our very first portfolio using ReactJS. So tune in and subscribe to the One Code Camp channel to see more of our videos. Thank you.